Hey there, I'm Alan Furstenberg,
I'm Mark Tucker, and we are Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. How's your week been going, Mark?
Oh, it's it's been good. It's been a fun week.
You rec-
Sometimes you have weeks where things don't seem to click, and kind of it's slow, and you've spent a lot of time debugging things, and this week seems to be one of those kind of breaking free into the clearing, and some things are starting to click, finding alternate solutions to some things, and so it's a pretty good week today.
one of those coding weeks where, yeah, you have problems, but you're in the groove and you can solve the problems.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
actually have done quite a bit of unit testing. Got my code coverage up to above 70% on stuff. I was trying to work around some different issues, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and write some unit tests, and very happy that I have.
very good, very good. Have you recovered from Alexa Live yet?
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, there's a lot going on. I loved our conversation last week. I haven't had a chance to dive in deep onto anything. There's a number of the different previews that I want to sign up for. So yeah, there's a lot that I would like to get involved with in as early as possible.
Yep, I hear you. So, but speaking of early as possible, one of the things that was announced just before Alexa Live
Right.
was they also announced 10 new Alexa champions.
Yes, the class of 2021.
So, and I know you're an Alexa champion,
Yep.
and I am a Google developer expert, a GDE for the assistant.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe let's talk a little bit about what Alexa champions are, what GDEs are, how they're similar and different, and what these two programs mean for us as developers and for other developers out there.
Yeah. So I'm also a Bixby Premier developer, so we'll throw that into the mix of things as well. But yeah, what does that mean? So as far as Alexa champion, I started doing Alexa stuff in 2016 and was selected as an Alexa champion in 2017 in the second class of champions. So I think by that time there were 24 champions. And actually, we had an event today with the VoiceCon today that was on Clubhouse, where they had a number of Alexa champions. If you're in the West Coast US, then it was 9 a.m. time slot, but it was all over different parts of the world. And I got to hang out with Heather, who was a newer champion, not one of the newest ones, and then Amy, who I think was part of the first class, if not the second class with me. But it's just always fun to hang out and get to learn from them.
Now, so what are the champions? I mean, what do you do? How do you get recognized? What is the point of the?
So it's probably very similar to GDE, is that Amazon, in the case of champions, recognizes people that have been doing things in the community. I think it started out primarily as developers that were doing things, but definitely have branched out to include designers and others that are in the voice space. But they're looking for people that use Alexa, that promote Alexa, whether it's in their communities, on social media, and the process of getting selected as a champion is a little bit mysterious. So I think in the end, the two main requirements is that you need to be nominated by somebody from Amazon, and then there's a process that they go through and they select some people. So I think those are the two parts. I don't really have insights. I think I was selected because I was early on, and I was doing, I set up the Phoenix Alexa meetup, and I was speaking at conferences, and just had some momentum. It's probably a little bit different now. Some cases in the past, as champions, we've been asked to not necessarily nominate, but maybe recommend or give a shout out to some people that maybe Amazon should take a look at. But I don't really have any deep insight into why some people are selected as champions and why others aren't. And there's probably a lot more qualified to be out there that are actually selected. So what about your process for GD? I guess, how does that work?
So GDEs are similar in some ways, but there are also some major differences in a lot of, the first is that GDEs are for developer products across all of Google. Okay. So there are GDEs for Android, there are GDEs for Google Web Technologies, there are GDEs for Google Maps, GDEs for Flutter and Dart. There used to be GDEs for the YouTube APIs. There used to be GDEs for Google Glass and Google Plus. And there are GDEs for the Google Assistant. And you can be a GDE in more than one category. So I'm a GDE for 5 or 6 right now, for example.
Okay.
And in some ways, similarly, we also just announce, usually GDE announcements are rolling over time as new ones get accepted. 2 GDEs that I work closely with, Amanda Cavallaro and Eliza Camber, who are assistant GDEs, also were just named as, let me see if I get this right, and I probably won't, Machine Learning Cloud Conversational AI GDEs, which is to say they specialize in Dialogflow.
Okay.
So that's separate from assistant GDEs because Dialogflow is a very separate product now. But they have a lot of experience in working with Dialogflow and helping people use Dialogflow in different ways. So they are now dual GDEs for assistant and Dialogflow, basically. And the fact that you can be a GDE in multiple categories and the fact that there are GDEs in multiple categories is useful in a lot of ways, because we occasionally meet, we used to occasionally meet, and you see a lot of cross-pollination. So there's a lot of, talking to people that you've talked to over the years and discussing what you've done. And someone will talk about how they're doing something new with cloud. And you say, I could use that. How do you do that? Or I'll be talking about assistant and someone will say, well, you mean I can actually do that? And I know how? So that kind of cross-pollination is really, really good amongst the GDEs themselves. We have mostly a developer focus. The name is Google Developer Expert, right. Although many of the developers for the assistant are actually also really designers. They're conversation designers more than they are developers, but they're also developers. What we don't have is, I always got the feeling that a lot of the Alexa champions are also product advocates, for lack of a better term. Here are new and innovative ways that you can use Alexa. And they're the ones that are out there championing that as well. And that's definitely not something you see from the GDEs.
Like one of the first champions that I met was Andrea, and she was all about smart home. She wasn't a developer, but she knew a lot about how to set up your smart home on Alexa. You see that with Catherine Prescott with Voice Brew, newsletter about how to use Alexa. So those are things that are that are different than a typical developer or designer role, but it's just different variations on the theme. But and on Samsung, as far as the Bixby Premier Developer, once again, it has a developer in the name, and there's just a few of us. And that was something that I got involved with a couple of years ago. Roger Kibbe and others had let me know about the program and started making capsules and learning about how to do, specifically development on Bixby. And I was trying to figure out how to do cross-platform across all 3 of the major platforms.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. So the other question was also how does one become a GDE? You talked a little bit about the mystery about how to become an Alexa champion. Mm-hmm. The process for becoming a GDE is actually extremely well documented these days. When I joined the GDE program, and I joined the GDE program now, I guess about 9 years ago, coming up on 9 years.
All right.
It was a lot less formal. It was people inside Google recognized that you were out there helping the community, helping the developer community specifically, and invited you into the program. Nowadays, there is a review process that starts with reviewing, it starts with a nomination. And usually that means nominating you to, through a Google developer group. There are a number of these user groups around the world, nominating you to the program, mostly based on what you've contributed to the community already. There's a review of what you've contributed. So, you know, somebody who's made a blog post, we'd like to see more. Somebody who, you know, posts a podcast every week talking about Google technology, that's more what they're looking for. They're looking for people that show knowledge in a subject and the ability to communicate that to others and help others with it. Once you get past that review, then there is an interview with an existing GDE in the field. I've also always avoided that in the past because most of the GDE topics that I'm currently part of, I was the first GDE for them. So there was no other GDE to interview me. Once you get past the interview with another GDE, you're interviewed by a Googler in the developer relations team for that program area. And once they sign off on it, there's a formal review by legal to make sure they're allowed to actually bring you into the program, and you're brought into the program.
All right. Now, how much did your work on Stack Overflow play into becoming a GDE?
It probably, well, that's kind of a twisted question. So it probably influenced a great deal of me becoming a GDE for Glass, because that's about when I first started doing a lot of work on Stack Overflow. Was as a GDE for Google Plus, I started answering Google Plus questions. And when Glass came on board, I started answering Glass questions. And that got the attention of the Glass developer relations team, who reached out to me and said, we see you're answering a lot of questions. You're already a GDE. Would you like to be a GDE for Glass too? And that was an easy yes on both sides. How I became a GDE for the assistant is a long, convoluted route, which did not actually have much to do with Stack Overflow at the time. It had to do with the person in developer relations who I was currently working with as a wearables GDE moved over to the assistant team. And I kind of moved along with them to the assistant team before there was a way to develop for the assistant. So I became an assistant GDE before you could develop for it.
Once again, kind of creating the
position, right. And then as part of that, I had, as we have an annual GDE conference where Google will often talk to us about what's going on in various sessions. And one of the sessions they had a few years back, right after the assistant was released, was kind of a developer, an early preview for what developing for it would be like. And I was hooked. I attended that and there was no turning back for me. So yeah, me becoming an assistant GDE was directly because I was already a GDE and they sold me on it right up front. And then since I was playing with it right up front, I was able to answer questions for others right out of the gate.
Yeah, it sounds like for both Alexa Champions and GDE that the process has evolved over the years, and kind of what got us in is different than what would the path that you would take today.
I assume in most cases, it starts out very informally and becomes a little more formalized as you start running into, in some cases, problems. When you get people who think that these programs are the reason for being, or the reason for doing something. One of the things I like to say is very rarely do people become GDEs. they're already GDEs and they're discovered.
Yeah,
But
that
they're
makes
already
sense.
the experts in the field. They're already sharing their knowledge with others. And at some point, by doing that, someone will reach out to them and say, have you ever thought about being a GDE? And that's really where most of the GDEs come from. And now there are over 900 GDEs, I believe.
Wow.
But again, this is covering everything from
Yep.
Android to machine learning with TensorFlow. I mean, it's all over the place.
Right.
But yeah, I like to believe and that mostly it's people who are already doing great work that become part of the program. And it sounds like that's actually very similar to the champions.
Yeah. It's kind of, you get out of it what you put into it. There's been some people that have been champions and then, not that there's like a formal renew process on a yearly basis, but some people have decided that they're not, don't want to be champions anymore, or they're not as excited about voice as they thought they were at one point, or
their focus has changed. So, they
Yep.
may still be excited, but they don't have the time commitment or whatever.
Yep. Or you could become employees to a competitor and
that's definitely happened. One of the GDEs that I was very good friends with for a time is now the head of developer relations at Amazon.
And I know Alexa Champion that was around when I started, that it works for
Google now. Yes.
For Google. Yeah. So it's the way that it goes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There actually is a formal review process for GDEs every year. One of the things that we're expected to do is not just do various things for the community, but also document what we've done for the community. And if we're not, I won't say if we're not doing enough, it's more like if we're not doing anything, then Google will gently reach out and say, why do you want to be a GDE if you're not doing anything?
Yeah.
It's more of is this really what you want to do? Is this really the right thing for you? Are we helping each other here? And if the answer is no, then people leave usually on good terms.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's been a number of people that have been in charge of the Champions program over the years. It seems like it's, I'm not sure if it's ever been somebody's full-time job to be doing stuff with the Champions. It's usually part of, developer relations or evangelists or something. And there's been times where we've, documented more, kind of like what have you done over the last year in the area of promoting Alexa or helping people out with questions or whatnot. And I've done that. Other years it's been less formal than that. So
yeah, no, there now I think actually there are at least 2 full-time Googlers who are in charge of the broad community relation programs. So that's the GDEs, the GDGs, women tech makers. There's at least one more, Launchpad. All of that falls under the same group.
Okay.
So there's at least 2 full-time Googlers on the worldwide level, plus regional leads in the different regions that work on it. Plus, in each program area, there's usually somebody who's the liaison to the GDEs.
Yeah, it sounds like with that many more, GDEs, then there's more structure that's happened, and it's been around for a longer too. Yeah.
So, I guess so. One of the questions that inevitably I always get asked is, so what do they give you as a GDE? So I'm going to turn that around. What do you get as both a champion and as a premier developer? And then I'll answer it for GDEs as well.
All right. So as a Bixby premier developer, I did get like a welcome kit that had a number of different things, fun things like I think there were socks and stickers and a Samsung phone.
That's a nice.
Yeah, it was an older model. I think it was like 1 or 2 versions back, maybe. There were, and there were some stipulations. You needed to, develop some capsules and stuff and kind of prove that you earned it.
We're using this phone for some reason.
Yeah, and so so that wasn't really that much to do. As far as from time to time, I think I've gotten a free dot or something from Alexa. Not a lot on the device side of things. They're not handing out devices left and right. I've purchased my own devices, but opportunities. Sometimes we've had like representatives from some of the different teams working on different features for Alexa come in and talk to the group of Alexa champions. Some sort of a webinar to talk about what the features, ask questions, opportunities to be involved in preview stuff, or even pre-preview, like, hey, I've got this idea about such and such, what's your input? So some cases, in a way, that's me helping them as far as giving feedback, but it also helps me to kind of see where their head is at on different features, and kind of get a few good feature requests then on the early stage. Not that necessarily has always turned to fruition, but it's that's kind of what I've got. Opportunities has been more just on the recognition side, opening up doors on some different things. I've started speaking at conferences, I think partly because I was an Alexa champion, partly because I wanted to, and partly because, I guess that I was, and that I think that helped both scenarios, both parties to the situation. And, but it's more just, what you put into it. There's not a lot,
Now, I feel like a couple of years back, the champions were invited to a live stream of something that nobody else could see. That we were just getting like live tweets.
Yeah, there was. Was it last year or the year before? There was some event, and I didn't realize that was the case. I was just like, and then what did you guys think about that? Like, we're not seeing this, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that it was. So. Yeah,
that was an interesting one. I think similarly, we're invited to, broadly speaking, we're invited to events. So we can usually get into things like I/O without having to go through the lottery system. There's an annual conference that the GDEs are invited to every year, where we meet not just our program teams, but can meet other program teams and talk to the people in charge of the GDEs. And most importantly, talk to other GDEs. That's really our chance to network with our peers. And then depending on the program area, there may be, monthly touch base meetings to find out what people are doing, or, to kind of give an idea on where the program area is going, or new things to, again, in the same sort of way, alpha or pre-alpha, or we're thinking about this, what do you guys think, type sessions. So there can be a lot of that. One of the other things that has been helpful in the past is that for some conferences, Google will also help pay travel expenses to the conferences and where we're speaking at them. And that can be really useful especially for younger GDEs who are not, big people in their companies, or not running their own companies, and are just trying to get out there and get speaking. This is a great opportunity to get some of them at some fairly decent conferences.
Yeah.
And that's a great feature that Google has offered in the past.
Yeah, that is nice. Because sometimes it's just, the cost of the conference and the travel are the two big things, and then hotel, but that helps if you get some of those things paid for.
Yeah. So there are certainly nice things that come from being a GDE, but again, it's It's because we're already doing the work, and Google wants
Yeah.
to help us do that work.
All right. I've got a question for you. Do you, I guess, do you feel like somebody would need to be a GDE or a champion or some way? Do you think by not being one of those that it stops them in any way or hinders their growth in?
No, not at all. Like I think, like I said, it's most GDEs are discovered. There are
Yeah.
people that already have a passion for a particular field and have dove into it and are helping the community in that field already. And I think what I see for a lot of GDEs, for example, are already working with local groups and are already getting some help from those local groups, either by exposure or in feedback. The impression I get is a lot of champions have also organized local Alexa user groups or whatever. So these are people who are already great community organizers, who are already good at connecting with people and networking and getting their message out. And the champions and the GDEs are helping them do it easier and better.
Right.
Part of why I hesitate on that, part of that is the name. The name Google Developer Expert has always had some issues with it, because there are people out there who are far better in their field and are not GDEs. And it's not that they don't know the material, and it's not they aren't excellent at using it. It's that they may not be the best at communicating that. And that's the difference between a GDE and an expert.
That's interesting. Yeah. So,
and to be clear, they're still fantastic people. Many of them are people that I know and have worked with and have talked with, and they know the material.
I do think there is some aspect of literally like community, of communication, social. I think there is a component in each of these programs that do deal with that. If, I don't know that that's or like how big of a part that plays, but I do seem to see that different people that are Alexa champions have either done something in the community or created tools that the community uses, or I think, it's not just that having a prize winning skill or something like that is
right,
the
exactly.
thing that's going to get you there. So I don't know, I guess overall, maybe my advice would be just do what you do. Don't worry about title, no title, are you in the program or are you not in the program? Just, if you're interested in doing meetups and community things, do that. If you're interested in digging deep into the technology and uncovering every rock and seeing what's underneath there, then do that. And if that's something that you put out on a blog post or something on GitHub, but just do what you want to do, and just help the community grow overall.
Well, I think in that sense, I think help the community grow, but also help the field grow.
Yep.
If what you're out there to do is to build some great skill or action, build that skill or action. Prove to everyone else that it can do things that they said it couldn't do.
Right.
And if your goal is to be out there and make some money, be out there and make some money. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
If that's your focus, then focus on that and do it, and be the best that you can do with that. And if as part of that you want to work with the community, then do that too. I think there's a lot of roles that we have here. I think overall it's just we're all working to do something great. Let's respect each other in what we can do to make it a great industry.
Yeah. So I really enjoy the voice community. It seems to be some of the friendliest people that I've hung around with. These last 5 years have just been awesome, and meeting different people and different conferences that I've been able to to go to, and everybody seems to be so supportive on social media as well. I hope that continues. I just really like the way that it is, and if for some reason you're not feeling like you're being recognized, or you want to be noticed a little bit more, just reach out. We're happy to take a look at what you're doing. We're excited about what you're learning, and I'm sure we'll learn something from you as well.
No, definitely. I'd agree. And if your goal is to be a champion or a GDE or a premier developer or a Microsoft MVP or any one of the many other recognition programs that are out there, we're always happy to talk about A, why do you want that? And B, work with you about finding the best route for you to get there.
Yeah.
The best route for you to help our communities.
Yeah, we're definitely open to talking and figuring out what we can do to just, even if nothing else, just encouragement to just keep going. Don't worry about it so much, and just keep doing your thing.
Find the thing that is right for you.
Yeah.
Champions, GDEs aren't necessarily the right thing for you. Maybe they are, but find your niche, find your passion, find what you want to do, and do it.
Yeah.
And enjoy doing it more than most of all.
Yeah, I agree. I very much like the stuff that I'm doing. This has been some of the most fun that I've had in my whole career. Has just been these last few years doing voice technology. No,
I would definitely agree with you there.
So, well, I want to give a quick shout out to the new class of Alexa Champions. So Alexander, Ashish, Jeong, João, Jody, Catherine, Micah, Steve, Sunit, and Xavier. So we're just congratulations, welcome to the champions, and just a bigger welcome to everybody that's in the voice community. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here, and thanks for contributing.
Yep, I agree. Thank you, and we hope that you contribute some more and chat with us and join us next time on Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah, take care. See you later, Alan.
You as well, Mark.